The show Good Girls aired in February 2018 on Netflix and had a ton of viewers initially interested. The first season was intriguing and it had a way of pulling you in, but before we knew it, the show started plummeting. The engagement decreased, the ratings were bad, and the show inevitably ended up getting cancelled. This is the downfall of Good Girls. The start of this show was successful because of the Underdog double life plot. People love stories about underdogs. They love stories about people who are underestimated in society and grow to become more powerful. We also love mixing the underestimated characters with double lives, and it becomes all the more thrilling. Think of Walter White, someone who was made fun of, viewed as weak, sick, and poor, becoming a ruthless and feared man all through a double life. Another great example of an underdog film is Joker, with a mentally ill, vulnerable, and weak man becoming a confident villain with a large amount of power and influence. This general storyline has historically proved to be extremely successful and continues to cater to large audiences, because on a broader scale, people tend to like seeing characters considered weak become empowered. It inspires us. Seeing characters that we least expect to put on a mask and become completely bold and brave, it makes us feel a bit of fire and passion as we watch their development and connect with them. And Good Girls started that way, but it also stood out uniquely, as we don't often see this storyline with women. And I'm not talking about unrealistic superhuman women with perfect figures. It was real, average, realistic women with realistic problems. Women many of the viewers can actually relate to. The main characters consisted of 3 suburban moms. The first one was a single mother, Annie, dealing with a custody battle with her rich ex-husband while she was working minimum wage. The next one was a mother dealing with a cheating husband and nearly losing her home from his financial irresponsibility, Beth. And the final one was a mother struggling with a sick child with hefty bills that she was unable to keep up with, Ruby. With all 3 women exhausted and drowning in debt and financial turmoil, the writers developed a strong motive, and the women are tempted by their desperation. They collectively decide to take things to more extreme measures by robbing a grocery store that Annie worked at. This mixes some intensity and intrigue while also maintains some comedic value. We never would have expected a soccer mom who begs for fun to be a diabolical mastermind involved in a criminal operation, with a very impulsive and irresponsible sister and a financially desperate mother of a sick child to be her sidekicks. Somehow, the writers managed to pull it off, and the show was a hit. The women empowerment themes in this show made it all the more appealing to a large female audience. When Leslie, the manager of the grocery store, put the pieces together and figured out Annie was behind the robbery, he showed up to Annie's house, blackmailing her and attempting to SA her before Beth steps in. This element made the show feel more serious, adding subject matter that can be disturbing and mature. The intensity of this scene made it clear that the show can incorporate more mature subject matter, showing the real danger that these women can actually be in, while circling back to the themes of the show with women empowerment.
When a lady screams, "Stop!" it is usually because she is not having the time of her life. But what do I know? Now you're gonna pull up your pants, and you are gonna get the hell out of here. Get out!
As SA is a very serious threat to every woman, this show's attempt was to acknowledge this common threat to women and bring on a character who represents that threat, followed up with an empowered narrative as the women protect each other and assert dominance over him, later depicting a weak, insecure, and defeated man. As the concept of 3 suburban moms robbing a grocery store and later becoming involved in a much larger operation in of itself can be funny to think about, there were also several jokes along the storyline to add to the comedic appeal.
Hi. How old are you? Let me guess. 6. Do you watch Doc McStuffins?
The women themselves kept us entertained with their comedic and entertaining personalities. This keeps the show often lighthearted, yet still incorporated intensity and anxiety for the women. However, over time, the comedic value increased while the intensity and seriousness decreased. Without a good medium of the two elements, it resulted in a feeling similar to a sitcom or a show created for younger audiences. So where did they go wrong? With this type of plot, every successful show has maintained a level of realism. The three realistic, average women turning bold, brave, and even feared sometimes can really pull off intensity with realism. But unfortunately, the show severely lacked realism, and therefore evolved to becoming more boring to the viewers. These women always seem to avoid all danger. Throughout the series, none of them were harmed in any way, while somehow wreaking havoc all over a criminal operation. This is simply far from realistic. Beth, who eventually seemed to evolve into the main protagonist, has snitched on Rio, betrayed him, lied to him, and even shot him. Yet somehow not a hair on her head had been touched. We all know for a criminal operation to be successful, it needs to be run by rather ruthless characters. For Rio and his members to not only be merciful but continue to work with Beth made these women seem invincible and the show way too innocent. It started off with a bang, mixing intensity, danger, some disturbing subject matter, and resulted feeling in more like a kids PG-13 show with very little violence and consequences that inevitably come with crime involvement. The women not only escaped any violence or consequences, but they also managed to escape from the FBI, which was a storyline that was building up and then fizzled into nothingness. The women continued to appear invincible to all threats, which is simply not possible or realistic. Last but not least, Rio. Rio, initially the antagonist, becomes rather likable along the show as he represented the bad boy, dangerous love interest that enters this once seemingly innocent suburban mom's life and spins her life around. He sends Beth, along with many viewers, mixed messages, creating that push and pull feeling. With the many female viewers this show had, Rio had also geared interest due to the way he was depicted. His character was mysterious, relatable, yet intimidating, sometimes even cruel. He, however, seemed to develop a soft spot for Beth, which he does a good job of hiding. But with all the times she betrays him, he never harms her. A mixture of these elements makes his character seductive. His portrayal was the bad boy who's mean to everyone except the woman he's interested in, which is a popular romance plot. It made Rio seductive enough that it attracted more female attention to the show, awaiting to see the dramas unfold of a dysfunctional and somewhat toxic romance between the two. However, soon enough, Beth became highly unlikable the more she continued to betray Rio, and Rio became more likable the more he maintained his cool, mysterious, and dangerous persona while also remaining merciful to Beth. Rio was perhaps the only thing left at this point keeping an audience interested. There was no real climax to the story, as all the women were seemingly invincible and never faced any consequences. The additional storylines such as the FBI and Hitman plots fizzled out, and Dean's character, for whatever reason, is redeemed, while Beth becomes the least likable. Endless shows have continued to go on when the love interest died, but Rio happened to carry this show. They couldn't kill off Rio in this show because he was the only one keeping viewers interested. Eventually, there was very little left to keep the audience engaged, leading to the overall cancellation of the show. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be posting twice a week.